Okay. I'm going to have to redo this. I sat down a while ago and had one. I thought, that's a good one. My darling yelled at me, interrupted me, and we were yelling back and forth. And that wouldn't have been too commodious. So I'm going to try to do this again. Like I said before, this is kind of out of the cycle for me. I am. It's probably only 2-3 days since I did the last one, but something spurred me to get back on. Get into that in a minute to give you a weather report here at Siegel South. It's cold, really cold. The temperature is really only about 33, 34, but the wind chill's got it down about some places in the teens. And my darling, Tiana, who yelled at me a minute ago, was going to go out to Weatherford, which is up northwest of here, to her son's place for the day tomorrow. And the trees are all covered with ice out there, hanging down. In fact, her son just called and said, don't come. Of course, I'd already told her not to go. You know how she listens to me. Yes, sir, Mr. Big Shot. But anyway, I had told her not to go because it's supposed to be worse tomorrow. Anyway, Jerry's worried the tree's going to break because the ice is on them, and it's supposed to keep on doing it. Now, one thing about it, I've noticed, when we have weather like we're having here, and it happens at Siegel North, which is where I grew up, it doesn't rain at 24 degrees. It snows. You get much below 40, 35 degrees up there, and it snows, which kind of freeze dries the air. And in a lot of ways, it's not really too uncomfortable. I mean, you can go out with a jacket, and a pair of rubber shoes, and maybe some gloves and a little headgear, and be all right. Down here, it could be 24 degrees, wind blowing 40 miles an hour, and it's raining. Now, what the physics are that create that is more beyond me, because water freezes 32 degrees. Of course, it freezes on everything, road, and but I've seen it rain that cold, and it's just miserable. I mean, boy, it just goes through you. Oh, it's something to do with instead of being snow and freeze dries in the air, it's the humidity is up, the wind is blowing, and I mean, man, you just can't get warm. So I'm sure that they'll close the schools on Monday. Seems an absolute, back home, he's got to snow 4 or 5 feet before they close the schools. It's just another day. Not down here. If we had 5 inches of snow, we'd be marooned. I mean, they have no facilities for taking snow off the road, nothing. Snows maybe once or twice a year. I got a feeling this year it might snow a little more because this is an early cold blast for us. Anywho, I'm going to tell you what got me on here this early. The fact that yesterday was President Kennedy's 50th anniversary. 50 years since he was shot. And of course it was in the media when I was on dialysis. My dialysis went like a shot yesterday. It just, the 4 hours were... And the reason being is because I got on the History Channel and they ran a complete critique. All the video that was made, and there was video in those days. Tape was about this wide. You didn't have it in a DVD or a VHS. I mean, you didn't have it in your home, but they had it in, out in the media. So they taped it. Anyway, I saw 4 hours of the day that Kennedy got shot. Boy, it brought back memories. My gracious, it did bring back memories. And of course, one of the things that everybody in all the media and everybody always says is, do you remember where you were at when Kennedy was shot? Yes, I do. Sure do. Exactly. At the moment. I was in the Air Force. I was in the engineers. And I had just come from Chow. I think of cars. I had a 58 Mercury. Nice car. But I had a buddy that had a 57 Oldsmobile, two-door hardtop, Super 88 white. I mean, the thing was just, it was a work of art. I always lusted after that car. Anyway, I pulled in beside him, and I walked around, and he was hunkered down in his car over the radio like this, and I banged on the window, pop, 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 and I said, "Hey, man, come on, we're going to be late." And I didn't have a formation at noon, but they had a way to know if you were there or not. I don't remember what it was. It's been 50 years. Pop, pop, pop. "Come on, man, we're going to be late." Rolls the window down. He's got a power windows on his. Mine had crank. Old Mercury had crank windows. His had power windows. He rolled down the window on that thing. He said, "Shut up, man. The president's been shot." I said, "What? Are you kidding?" He said, No. It's on the radio. He just shot up in Dallas." So finally got him out of that car. And we went in and we covered whatever attendance responsibility we had. And being engineers, we had access to trucks and stuff. So we went out into the motor pool. We got a Dodge 2.5-ton dump truck, and I picked up another guy who had a transistor radio. And transistor radios were big, new stuff in those days. He had a transistor radio. We went shooting out of the shop, went up by the hospital, got back in some mesquite trees to the point where we couldn't be seen anymore. And we spent the rest of the day listening to the rundown on what was going on up in Dallas. And I say that that day changed America. Kennedy was a can-do, forward-looking, and I guess he was pretty. I'm a guy, I don't know, guys don't strike me as pretty or otherwise, but he was a striking-looking gentleman, and we had been through the Cuban Missile Crisis with him, personally, me and the other guys there, so we thought pretty highly of him. He didn't get us atomized, and there were people that would have got us atomized, and he didn't, so we thought very highly of him in the military. And the country changed. No, the can-do attitude kept on going because we went to the moon during that decade. And I remember him saying that we choose to do it because it's not because it's easy, but because it's hard. And he inspired people. He really did. There are a lot of people that went into government service because of him. Not because it was easy, but because it was hard. And boy, what a change there's been since those days, huh? Also, he was not shot by a nutwing, nutcase, right-winger, or a nutcase, left-winger. He was shot by somebody that just wanted to make a name for themselves, which he did, old Lee Harvey. I remember the day after he was shot, our barracks were brick and they were 3-story. And they didn't have air conditioning refrigerated air like they have today. They had this water-cooled thing up on top, which worked pretty good, actually. But the air was fed into the building through flues, which were built into the side of the building. And in each room, top of the room, there was a vent. Well, if you wanted to talk to the guy upstairs, you'd walk over there by that vent and say, "Hey, Charlie," and it would come out his vent up there because everything was open. And the second day after Oswald shot Kennedy, I'm in my room, didn't have TV on, and I hear the guy upstairs yell, "They got that son of a bitch." Excuse my language, but that's what he said. And I went over and, "What? Yeah, they just shot Oswald." So I had a TV in my room. I turned it on. I think that was on a Sunday. I think that's why I was there. And I turned the TV on. And in due course, evidently they rewound the tape and got to see Oswald get his. And we thought, yeah, some bitch deserves shooting. Of course, then all the conspiracy theorists started jumping off that Ruby was, he was a mobster, the mob shot Kennedy, yada yada yada. Who will ever know? But yesterday I sat and relived, not really reminisced. We don't reminisce about something like that. I don't know what word I'm searching for, but anyway, I sat and watched, while I was on dialysis, I watched 4 hours of the Kennedy assassination. I'm glad they did that. It had a very big effect on my life. Psychologically, it was something, I guess, something I didn't forget. As far as, affected me in my work ethic and other things. I mean, no, it didn't. But it was a really eye opener, so to speak. Okay, the other thing that got me on here, I read this morning in the Star Telegram out of Fort Worth, Texas. It says, and a little headline there. Where is it? Yeah, right there. It says, approval of biology textbook is delayed. Well, why is that? Well, we're in the buckle of the Bible Belt here in the Deep South, and the board or commission that approves school books for the state of Texas, they're in another fight over creationism as opposed to evolution. And the creationists don't want evolution in the book, and the evolutionists, of course, just want it. And they're fighting and spitting and going, and I think I have a solution. And this is going to go to the past, but it sure weren't. We didn't have a lot of fighting and feuding, about God in the schools when I was in school. I was in school 60 years ago. The theory of church and state was, separation of church and state was pretty solid. So what they did in Little Valley, and I gotta believe they probably did it in all those towns up there, on Wednesday afternoon. Now, you folks up in Siegel North can correct me on this if I've got the time frame or the hours wrong. Not that it matters. This is essentially what happened. But my recollection is Wednesday afternoon, about 1:30, the school would release children that had gotten a note from their parents, and they would go to what was called religious instruction. And what this was is that we would go to our respective churches. I was Catholic, Congregational, Methodist, Presbyterian, might have been some other, Lutheran, might have been some others. Those come to mind readily. And these kids would go to their respective churches and they would have religious instruction for a couple hours. And that covered it. There wasn't any fight in the school over, you're not teaching creationism. They did that when we were getting religious instruction. And it seemed to work out just swimmingly. I don't know if there's a financial situation now where, the federal government or the state or somebody who puts up funds, won't let them do it, but it worked just swimmingly. And I think they ought to do it again. Solve all these problems, all these raven nutcases that, think the world started 5,000 years ago. I was hardcore. Went to religious instruction. Went to mass, raised Catholic. Went to mass on Sunday. Sometimes during the week, my dad was hardcore. I mean, he would go to He would go to mass sometimes 3 times a week. He was the sheriff. But a powerful man in political circles. He went to church. Uh, Went to Catholic school. Went to private Catholic school, which was a college prep. Went to a university, Catholic university, for a little while. I mean, I sang in the choir. I was an altar boy. You know, did all Dub or Dominus Vobiscum and all that stuff. Well, as I got to be in my older ages, on in years, got a little cynical. I'll give you an example. We were raised that the dogma of the Catholic Church was God's word. God said it was this way. One of the things that God said was, you don't eat meat on Friday. Okay. Fish. You know, called us mackerel snappers because we ate fish on Friday. This is only one example. There were several. Well, someplace, some years later, I guess God changed his mind. So, well, that's kind of strange. I didn't think God changed his mind. Now you can eat fish on Friday. Oh yeah, another one. God said, when you're grouped together and you're praying to me, you do it in Latin. Now, not everybody out in the congregation, but the officiators, you know, I had to learn a little bit of Latin. The priest is the one that was officiating the ceremony, spoke in Latin. Well, later on, they had a board meeting, some ecumenical thingamabob. God changed his mind. This can make you kind of cynical. You say, well, shoot. Now, is God really doing all these things? Obviously not. But I got people here that believe just as staunchly in their dogma. I don't know if their God changes his mind from time to time. I bet he does. I'll bet you there's been rules in these Southern and Pentecostal churches that have changed a little bit over the years. So, if they're gonna rant and rave that they want this taught in the schools, they're out of line. And as a solution, I suggest that the state, to make these guys happy, let them take their kids out of school for a couple hours each week on a specific day, send them over to their churches and teach them whatever they want them to know. Makes sense to me. So, now, said my piece on that. I guess I'll sign off. It's cold. I suspect up there in Siegel North, you're going to get some snow. I saw from somebody, Johansson, that they were expecting 6 inches. That ain't squat. 6 inches of snow up there, nothing. I mean, you know, if we had 6 inches of snow here, we'd be marooned for a week. But 6 inches would be nice. I'd like to see 6 inches. Anyway, I'm going to sign off. You guys have a good one. I'm going to stay and stay warm today, although Mama wants to go to the store. I don't know what for, but we'll go. Okay, Brian Cutter, top of the day to you. I saw that guy on that flying lawnmower. Why his back even broke is beyond me. Crystal, see you tomorrow. I'm going to dial on Sunday. They're rigging things around so that we'll have Thanksgiving off. And one of the things they're doing is they're moving me from Monday to Sunday for 1 week, which will be all right. I'll be off Monday and Tuesday. My sons, Kyle and Carl. And Kyle, I put a little "Where are you?" on the Facebook. give me a call. You know, I'd like to talk to you from time to time. Tracy, hope you have a good Thanksgiving. Heights and Raider. I saw where you got back for the football game. What are they, 7-2? Never have followed Duke much except in basketball. That was back when St. Bonaventure was, pretty prominent. They used to play in the Flying Dutchman down there. I think that's what they called them. Blue Devils. Ike, saw your new picture. I don't know what body of water you were like, but looked pleasant. Glenn, Daryl Mackey, Tyler, Jim Kersey. I want to say hi to Carl up in Bradford if you're still watching these. I'll probably see you here in about, what are we at? January, February, March, April, March. About 7 months. Maybe 6. Yeah, 6 months. Be sitting there. Gotta lean on those technicians in that clinic not to suck me down so hard. Anywho, everybody have a good one. Happy Thanksgiving. I think that I think there ought to be a day for religious instruction. I do. I think that'd solve a lot of problems down here in the Buckle of the Bible Belt.